Disney has canceled all of Rachel Zegler's appearances on their media platforms. Kind of tough.
And there is no resolution in sight for the Walt Disney Company when it comes to Snow White 2025 at the box office. This is exactly why Bob Iger, the Disney CEO, is in pure panic mode over not just the Rachel Zegler backlash, but the entire backlash surrounding this movie in general.
Something unusual was in the air about the 2025 live-action Snow White. The studio wasn't merely updating the story, they were gutting and overhauling it. When the new lead actress, Rachel Zegler, made headlines by questioning the romance, the prince, and everything in between, fans felt blindsided. Social media was swarmed with comments about how the remake seemed to deviate from the cherished storyline.
After one hell of a PR tour, Disney's live-action Snow White is finally, I know, you were wondering.
And you have parents looking at Disney being like, what are you doing, guys? Like, this is supposed to be a place where magic happens, and all you're doing is indoctrinating kids.
Tell me if this is attractive to you. Like, does this, imagine you invested into her being the face of the movie, and she's the main character, and she's trying to promote the movie. Would this make you want to go watch the movie when she's starring in it and she's the main character?
She destroyed hundreds of millions of dollars worth of IP for Disney, but she also has destroyed her career and the careers of anybody who worked on the movie.
You could look at the fact that she has been sabotaging this film for years at this point, all in this sort of pursuit of entitlement.
Every way that Disney changed the story, it changed it for the worse.
None of it felt like a smooth transition. The sense of unease only grew after Zegler's remarks about the prince stalking the heroine, words that ignited debates about whether the legacy of a beloved fairy tale was being scandalized in the name of progress.
There is a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
Super weird.
So we didn't do that this time.
Disney's decision to cast Rachel Zegler seemed brilliant on paper. She had a rising star profile after making waves in West Side Story, but fans took issue with the tone she adopted in interviews, calling the original Snow White awkward and its main romance irrelevant. This approach, meant to capture a modern audience, backfired. The controversy spread further when Zegler suggested the prince character was borderline creepy. Even longtime Disney supporters were stunned. The backlash wasn't just about a single actress's opinion. It felt like a larger betrayal. Suddenly, what was supposed to be a triumphant revival of a time-honored tale morphed into a swirling PR nightmare. Long before the finished film ever hit theaters, people voiced concerns that the footage looked cheap, that the dwarfs were nowhere to be found, and that the tone felt preachy rather than whimsical. Critics, who usually lined up to endorse Disney projects, began to question the direction as well.
And just how once trusted critics that shilled for the Disney company all the time, even they are beginning to turn their back against them. That's how bad this movie truly is. Even if you look at the IMDb rating score, that's when you really know how terrible this movie is and how it really hit rock bottom.
The outcry was immediate and relentless. Disney's PR teams tried to calm the storm, but it only seemed to bring more questions. Some fans claimed it was Disney's attempt to appear woke, while others believed it was a desperate ploy to grab headlines. The negative press overshadowed everything else the company was doing. Insiders whispered that Disney CEO Bob Iger was furious at how events had spiraled. Snow White was the bedrock of Disney's identity, the film that turned the company into a household name. Zegler's repeated remarks only worsened things. Headlines blasted the actress's takes, pointing out how she seemed dismissive of the film's roots. Reports circulated that far left-wing activists in Hollywood started quietly distancing themselves.
That the producers, far left-wing activists in Hollywood, are turning on her, and
this meltdown had become an existential threat to a classic brand. Rumors surfaced that Disney was drastically cutting Zegler's promotional appearances. This proved one thing: the studio was in damage control mode, and no one seemed sure how to fix it.
Disney responded by scaling back the premiere. I don't know that anyone really showed up to the premiere. The Rotten Tomatoes reviews are looking pretty bad, and they did, it seems like they tried to tweak a few things, but this movie is bad.
In a stunning move, Disney declared it would abandon the recently completed film's direction and rebuild Snow White from scratch. The new version would supposedly circle back to the original 1937 story and still keep the old-school fairy tale atmosphere. Critics who'd condemned the modern approach wondered if the studio's pivot would come in time to save the property's reputation. The official statement was carefully worded, acknowledging the missteps without blaming any single person or choice. They wanted to focus on honoring what made Snow White special in the first place. place. Insiders said the shift was a desperate attempt to recapture the magic that had been lost in the chaos. As the controversy raged, merchandise tied to the modern remake started hitting store shelves. Dolls, apparel, and promotional items piled up unsold, leaving Disney with a mountain of unsold stock. Analyst reports speculated the losses could soar into the millions. Rumors flew that entire marketing teams within Disney were being reshuffled or even let go. Tensions ran high among executives worried about the long-term impact on the Princess brand. Some worried the fiasco might spill over to future live-action projects, damaging the studio's image as a whole. Before the Snow White reboot, Rachel Zegler had been referred to as Disney's next big star. But after interviews that critics labeled tone-deaf, she found herself at the heart of a massive internet backlash.
To everyone who hates when I win, the winged victory came to the Louvre in pieces, and people still line up to see her. And I can only hope that despite my flaws, and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them,
She's a good actress.
that at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
The ego on this girl is ridiculous.
Wow.
And you're having this person be the poster child of the Democratic Party. Look no further than what Disney is doing with their woke, DEI, feminist
Watch this
agenda.
shit.
Some of her most vocal comments suggesting the prince was irrelevant or that the original story was outdated.
It's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
Saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming
So
about
she's gonna die.
true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
Took on a life of their own. Her public appearances became sparse. Industry insiders hinted that she was being quietly phased out from official promotional activities. Rumors spread that other high-profile Hollywood figures were now wary of the negative press swirling around her. Meanwhile, Disney scrambled to clarify that the new reboot would select a fresh lead, someone more mindful of the original story's emotional core. That single decision signaled Ziegler's exit from the future of the franchise. Though she hadn't issued a direct statement about the new film, her silence fueled speculation about burned bridges and broken ties. Once Disney revealed its second reboot, the conversation shifted to what this new vision might look like. Insiders suggested the studio wants an actress who exudes warmth, a singer capable of handling the classic tracks, and someone who respects the tone of a vintage fairy tale. Legacy animators were reportedly brought on board, including people who'd contributed to the Disney Renaissance era. Their job was to recapture the heart of the 1937 film and adapt it with subtle and respectful touches. The new script, said to be in development, might blend classic songs with a few new musical numbers that don't overshadow the beloved originals. Executives stressed the importance of balancing timeless enchantment with modern sensitivity. That approach showed Disney had learned a lesson regarding their fans. They welcome representation of strong female leads, but they draw the line at dishonoring a tale that shaped their childhood. The pressure is on for Disney to prove it can adapt without alienating loyal viewers. Disney's leadership views this second reboot not just as another film, but as a symbolic restoration. Snow White was the studio's founding fairy tale, the spark that ignited a global empire, allowing it to sink under the weight of one controversial interpretation would be a crisis of identity. Some fans have sworn off Disney live-action remakes entirely, voicing concerns that the studio has lost its creative spark. Many worry the damage has been done, yet others say they're ready to fall in love all over again if Disney delivers a faithful, enchanting retelling. The studio's success depends on how well it mends the trust damaged by the first reboot attempt. If they can infuse genuine craft into their next version, they might remind the world why Snow White stands as the fairy tale that started it all. If they fail, the studio could be at a total loss. Can Disney reclaim its throne by giving fans the Snow White they've been waiting for? Or will this legendary princess remain trapped in a mirror of modern controversy? The answer will echo far beyond one movie, shaping how future generations view the castle that once promised happily ever after.